Hi my lovely dears, welcome to this new Italian tutorial. This tutorial will be about another tense that we have in Italian, a past tense that we call passato remoto. Now, passato remoto is actually part of the modo that we call indicativo. So the modo that we use to talk about reality, and so what is real, what is certain, what happens or happened or will happen. So to understand, is also the same modo that has also the passato prossimo, the imperfetto. So I will also link the videos about these other tenses of the indicativo in the description below, and I will also make a video more in detail about the modi in the Italian language. For now, what is useful to know is that the passato remoto is like the passato prossimo, is used to talk about something that happened in the past at a certain point, and so is complete, is finished. So if you imagine your timeline, so a timeline that goes from the past to the future, passing also through the present. So the passato remoto is like the passato prossimo, a dot on this line. So it's something that happened in the past and is finished. The difference with passato prossimo, though, is that the passato prossimo technically should be used for what happened in a recent past. So I said it also in the video about the passato prossimo. So that should be used for what happened, for example, last week, yesterday, last month, and so for this kind of past. The passato remoto should be used for what happened so further back in the past. So let's say years ago, a century ago. So what is really back in the past. So technically that's what should happen, but nowadays in spoken language, so in everyday language, passato remoto is not used so much. You can hear it in the southern dialect. So the dialects in southern Italy, they use passato remoto a lot. So in standard Italian, in spoken language nowadays, passato remoto is not used so much, but is used mostly in literature. So if you read books, if you read Italian books, then you will surely find it. And so what I say also with my students, that given that many are interested in learning Italian to speak it in, so when they are there in Italy, so they are interested in everyday language, in spoken language. So for them it's not very useful to learn the passato remoto, because there are also many irregularities, and I will talk about it in the passato remoto. So, and as I said, it's not so much used. So it's actually work that you should do, much work for something that is not so useful in the end. So it depends on what is your aim, because if you want to take an Italian exam in Italian, or if you want to read books, then it's surely useful. But if it's just for spoken language, then it's not so useful. Of course, it's always nice to learn. I mean, if you learn a language, you should learn whatever is in there. But I should say that it is not so useful for spoken and everyday Italian. But anyways, so let's go to see. Let's see how you make the passato remoto. Now, let's start with the first conjugation. In the description of this video, we'll also link the video about the conjugations, so how you retrieve the root of the verbs, and so this kind of thing. But so let's take a verb from the first conjugation, like amare, to love. For the first person, what you add is I. So you pick the root of the verb. So from amare, are goes away, you have the root. For the first person, you add I. So I loved is amai. Io amai. For the second person, what you add is asti. So you loved becomes amasti. For the third person singular, what you add is o, stressed. So the stress goes on the o, on the last vowel. So on the desinence that you add. So he or she loved becomes egli or ella amò. For the first person plural, you add amò. So we loved becomes noi amammo. For the second person plural, what you add is aste. And so you plural loved becomes voi amaste. Then for the third person plural, what you add is arono. So they loved becomes essi amarono. So as you may also notice, the stress in the passato remoto tends to go towards the end of the verb, so towards the desinence. And so, for example, if you say the first conjugation is io amai, amasti, and then ei amò, amammo, amaste, amarono. And so actually you don't have so much change in the stress. But now going to the second conjugation, there comes the problem, because the first and the third conjugation, they are mostly regular. So almost all the verbs are regular, but almost all of them. So it's just a very small part that is irregular. But the second conjugation, then you have the problem, because they are, on the contrary, mostly irregular. So most of them are irregular. And so that's also the reason why, many people that are just interested in everyday language, they don't learn passato remoto, because then you have to learn all the irregular verbs from the second conjugation, and so it's just quite some work to do. But now there are also some regular verbs. For example, temere, so to fear. Now, so if you want to make the passato remoto, what you do, you pick the root. So temere, you have the root tem. And what you add for the first person, actually you have two possibilities. So you add a or et. So I feared becomes io temei or io temetti. For the second person, what you add is esti. So you feared becomes tu temisti. For the third person singular, you have actually two choices. So you add e, stressed, or ette. So he or she feared becomes egli o ella teme or temette. Then for the first person plural, what you add is emmo. So We feared becomes noi tememmo. Then, for the second person plural, what you add is este. So, you plural feared becomes voi temiste. Then, for the third person plural, what you add is erano or ettero. So, also here you have two possibilities. So, they feared becomes essi o esse, temerono or temettero. So as you see, you have two choices, two possibilities for the first person singular, so I, third person singular, he or she, and third person plural, for they. What do you choose? Usually, with the verbs that have a T in the root, for example, battere, which means to beat, then you choose the option without the T, so the desinence without the T. So you say io battei more than io battetti. You don't say io battetti, but you use the option without the T, battei. Then egli, for example, batté, so you don't say egli battette, you use the e, so the option without the T. And then you say essi batterono, no essi battettero. So also here you use the option without the T. For the verbs that have the T in the root. For the other verbs that not have the T in the root, usually you use the option with a T. So you can use both, but the option with the T is more common. For example, with credere, to believe. You say io credetti, so use the option with a T. And you can also say io credei, but no, it's not so common. So usually you say io credetti, and then you say egli credette. So also here you don't say egli crede, you say egli credette. And then essi credettero. You can also hear essi crederono, but credettero is what is usually used. So what is commonly used. Now, as I said, there are also many irregular verbs in the second conjugation. Now, these irregular verbs actually they don't change only the root, because in previous videos I said that irregular verbs are irregular because they change the root in the conjugation. Now with the passato remoto things are also slightly more complicated, because the irregular verbs don't change only the root but change also the desinence sometimes. For example, if you take vincere, so to win, that is irregular in the passato remoto. And so, I won becomes io vinci. So you don't use neither a or etti. So you don't say vincei, vincei, or Vincetti, Vincetti, ne. You use the E. Or I if you want to use the English spelling. So you say io vinci. So this is just to make an example that they also use sometimes other desinence different from what is the regular desinence. But now let's go to something more simple. So the third conjugation. The third conjugation, as in the first, as I said, they are mostly regular, so nothing difficult here. And so let's see how you make the passato remoto for the third conjugation. Now, let's take the verb dormire, so to sleep. And so the root here, ire goes away, you have dorm. Now, for the first person singular, what you add is e, so to, e or I if you want to use the English spelling. So I slept becomes io dormii. You slept becomes tu dormisti. So, for the second person singular, you add isti. For the third person singular, you add an I or I, with English spelling, with a stress. So, he or she slept becomes egli or ella dormì. For the first person plural, what you add is immo. So, we slept becomes noi dormimmo. Then, for the second person plural, what you add is iste. So, you plural slept becomes voi dormiste. Then, for the third person plural, what you add is irono. So, they slept becomes essi dormirono. So, as you can see also here, the stress goes towards the end of the verb. One last important thing, don't automatically translate what is past simple into passato remoto, because that can be the temptation, because also the past simple, so for something that is finished in the past. But don't automatically translate it, because the past simple is also the present perfect. They can both be passato remoto or passato prossimo in Italian. So as I said also in other videos, so don't automatically translate one tense from a language into the other, because every language uses tenses, verb tenses in a different way. So you can't automatically translate from one language to the other. Your aim should always be to think in the language that you are learning, or the language that you are translating into, and also this includes the use of the tenses. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a bit long and a bit complicated, but I hope it was enjoyable anyway. And if you like it, please give it a thumb up, and please subscribe to my channel if you like my tutorials. As always, feel free to post any comment or any question that you have, or to propose any topic you would like to hear about. Thanks for watching, and see you next tutorial. Ciao ciao!